live on Facebook.
2, 1. All right, we're live.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
It's Friday,
June 28th.
year of our Lord 2019.
Year of our Lord.
Do you like that?
I haven't heard that in
Old timey and throwbacky.
That's good stuff.
Makes me want to have a tunic
Huh.
and a sword.
Mm-hmm.
A sword.
An S word.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Old timey and throwbacky. That's good.
That's good.
I like that. It makes us look professional when that happens.
We are professional.
Yeah.
It looks good.
I think I just buzzed. I'm going to go stand up in our video and go get my phone.
You
Okay.
should do it.
Do it.
Here I
Wow.
go. Bye.
This looks even more professional.
Yeah, no, it is. It's all really solid. And then when I sit down, I'm almost the size of this chair, so it sounds like I toot.
That did that, or was that you? You made that noise.
I made that noise to cover the actual noise that happens.
Gotcha.
I didn't hear it.
It's much more comical. Oh my, Friday nonsense. We are live.
Oh, so you're on YouTube, right?
I have a notification for both of them. I really like that we're worried about where we are showing up. Okay.
Any questions yet?
No question. Like, why are you guys here? It's been a while. You had a couple guest speakers. How did that go?
We did have a couple guest speakers. It went really well. We focused on their story or their testimony,
Okay.
which was kind of neat.
That is fun.
So that was nice. And then I went on vacation and I kind of turned it over to you and nothing happened. Right?
Yeah, you're right.
So
But I've been busy. Like, we're lucky today's happening.
Were you supposed to carry the torch?
I was supposed to carry the
Oh.
torch. I was going to carry the torch. And in fact, that one day we were camping. I was going to see if we could torch carry at the camp. I thought that might be
That
fun.
would have been a good one.
But I didn't. I dropped the ball. And pretty much all my responsibilities here at it's like after you leave, Brian, everything falls apart.
I know, and that's what I've been trying to change in this place.
We did carry on Sunday service.
Oh, that's good.
No, that did work out. That did work.
Were you able to introduce the guest speaker, or did you just let him come up and everybody's like, "Who's this guy?"
I think, if I remember correctly, Becky did that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she had that handled.
So Becky knows what she's doing.
She was kind of like an adult in the room. Yeah.
Well, she is the mayor of Chardon. So
She is the mayor of Chardon.
she's used to this kind of responsibility.
Well, Naomi's watching. So Naomi, it's good to see you. That you haven't abandoned us.
Good morning.
Abandoned
Even though we've abandoned our audience.
And she says, "Welcome back, Matt."
Oh, thank you. Love it.
So she noticed that you were gone for a while.
That's good.
Yeah, I had one guy with totally white hair that came. That was David.
Dave.
He talked. And then I had a young lady come and sit with
Your
me,
niece.
my niece.
Yeah.
So those were pretty good interviews or good talks.
How was your vacation?
It was a nightmare.
Perfect.
Yeah, we never made it to North Carolina. We did make it to Kentucky for the weekend of one of my weeks.
Did you know they don't do the Dougie?
The Dougie.
Mm-hmm.
What's
The dance, the Dougie?
I don't know what the dance to. Can you show us what?
No, I don't know what it looks like.
I think you should show one.
I don't know what it is,
I
but
don't
I know
either.
they don't do it in Kentucky.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wrote that on a country song.
Well, maybe they're prejudiced against people with the name Doug.
No, it's a dance move. They don't do the Dougie, and no, not in Kentucky.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the Dougie though. We'll have to pull it up and see what the Dougie.
Hey, do you think that's the one that goes like this?
No, that's called the
Cabbage Patch?
The dishwasher.
The dishwasher. I am a big fan of the floss, and I'm a big fan of the floss when the people get injured flossing.
That
That's
you
fun.
can hurt yourself doing that?
Oh, you punch stuff accidentally doing that, you
Oh.
know, or like they'll do it on a skateboard and out it goes. It's good
Oh,
stuff.
well, that doesn't seem smart. Anyway.
No, it doesn't. That isn't funny dance for a skateboard.
Has Nathan done that to you before? The floss? Has he showed you the floss?
Does he do the floss?
Oh, he does it well.
Does he?
He does it super fast sometimes. When we were in, I'm trying to think where we were at on vacation. I think maybe Maryland last year. We were overseeing something, and there were a bunch of tourists and people around. And so I said, "Hey, I'll give you $1 if you go up and say, 'Hey, you want to see something?'"
And then
and then do the floss. And so he did that to like two just random people. He walks up, says, "Hey, you want to see something?" They're like, "Huh?" He starts doing this floss.
Nice.
And I had it on video.
Oh, you should. You know what? That you should open up a Sunday service in one of those videos.
Big
one
time.
day.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a real crowd pleaser.
I'll just find
Something
the
to
video.
kind of bring everybody in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, he watches these videos where these guys go up and do like random stuff,
Right.
And they did it, so that's where he got it from. Where we got
Do you think that's normal activity? Like, have you seen the ones where it's almost like everybody wants to be jackass in like they jump and kick each other into bushes, or they run and they jump into hedges in front of people? Like, I mean, that's funny-ish, but yeah, it seems kind of moronic.
It is moronic.
It's you can only like if you're the guy copying that. If you're like, dude, let's go, we can do that. We'll just go randomly jumping hedges in front of people. Would you not be like, no, that's already been done?
He's really looking for attention at that point.
Yeah, like this has already been done. That was funny the first time anybody saw it because it's unbelievable.
Right.
It's unbelievable somebody would act like that.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's humorous. But then to be the guy that's like, we should do that too. Like,
Right.
No.
And the problem is when you're watching those videos, you don't know for sure if this is actually all put on and everybody's a part of the whole thing, or if it is really, they're randomly doing it. Because I was watching a video that someone posted the other day, and these guys would just go up to people and they would like push them into something, or they would put olive oil on the stairs, and then they would come down, they would slip and
Was
fall
this
down.
on Facebook?
Yeah.
Posted by one of our
Yes.
and they were throwing giant medicine balls at men's special parts.
Yes.
They were kicking them on treadmills and tripping them.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm watching this going,
Right.
We literally are living Idiocracy.
Mhm.
If you haven't seen the movie, Idiocracy, their form of entertainment, 500 years in the future, is a show called Ouch My Balls, where they literally just take people and injure their man parts. And that's where we're going.
Yeah.
Like that, you can sit there and watch people trip each other. Like, I'm going, ow.
Right.
I feel bad for this. And then you wonder, like, all right, is this guy the heel of the apartment and he's okay with it?
Yeah.
Or is he got mental issues now because he gets picked on so bad? Because I know guys do this stuff, right? So I'm not like being a woman about it here.
But some of the stuff like they were doing in that video
Hey,
was
like, did you see, he could shatter an elbow.
right. Because the guy fell on concrete.
On concrete on his elbow, and he gets up, he's holding his elbow, and you're going like, did he ruin his elbow?
Where do you guys find these things? I'm just
You just go on
wondering.
Facebook
It just
and
came up on Facebook.
It just came up on Facebook.
But here's the interesting thing. Like, I remember my dad when I was just a kid, and somebody did something and destroyed somebody's property. And my dad said, that's the difference between, and you know how when you get older, you always say, that's the difference between you kids and us, or this generation, blah, blah. But he said, that's the difference. He said, when we used to have fun, he said, we didn't hurt people and we didn't destroy people's property. But now you guys, when you want to have fun, you got to destroy something or hurt someone. And that is literally the culture we're living in now.
Well, and I don't think it's all that different.
Okay.
I think that if your dad would have been in different crowds, or maybe the amount of people in that crowd, but there are destructive people who get a rush off of hurting people and destroying things.
Yeah.
There probably just were less. I think it's always been there. Now there's more because we've had from Tom Green to Jackass to even I'll go with the Nitro Circus where Travis Pastrana jumps off a boat at 75 miles an hour and he like shatters ribs and
wow.
It's like that would be like jumping off of a bridge, 50 feet high. Like you if you don't do it right, you're gonna break. The water becomes like concrete to a point.
Right.
And we watch that stuff and it is entertaining. And I'm sure to a point they're willing to injure themselves, or maybe they don't know. Maybe that's how they get their rush. And then we can really go down the road of isn't that their drugs or their whatever.
Right.
They're getting the rush off of acting like this. But I just think there's more of it now. It's more pervasive because people don't have a point.
Yeah. Right.
We have more recreational free time than we've ever had before. We can get food pretty much from anywhere. We're not all working in a field to the point where we're fat because I can eat anything I want, when I want it, how I want it. Used to have to spend a bunch of calories to eat a bunch of calories.
Right.
Now I can just eat a ton of calories every day because I have money for it.
And watch videos on Facebook.
And watch videos on Facebook. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
I hope you're eating a lot of calories right now, by the way.
Rachel, it's good to see you logged on. So here we are Friday. Haven't been here in a while, so topic wise,
We're all over the map.
Yeah, we should be fresh, but we are all over the map. We got a lot of stuff going on. I think it's the Roman gladiator days, and eventually we're going to see that it will come to that, right? Where people, the only thing that really gets people off,
A lion eating somebody.
yeah, is the harm or the of someone else. Seeing someone else hurt.
Do you think we'll have our own Caligula?
Could you please define Caligula?
He was the Roman ruler that slept with his horse.
Oh, it's already here, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
No, I mean actually a ruler, like our president.
Oh,
Yeah.
So Donald.
No, why do you gotta do that?
I'm just saying
I'm
he's
saying
our president.
look
You
after
said
Donald.
our president.
Look
He's
after
our
Donald.
president.
Look after Donald.
Okay, after Donald.
Yeah, the
So
president
Bernie.
after
So
Donald.
Bernie.
No, even a horse would turn Bernie down. He still is.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, like, actually, we probably do have that in senators and Congress people.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's going down.
Right.
So we've so far talked about weird videos on Facebook where people get hurt randomly, and
Still
we're talking
okay.
about rulers that sleep with horses.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say the depravity
Yeah,
of people.
I think we're getting there. It's getting nasty.
You know, it always happens in a society that's open and has the ability to do whatever they want,
Mm-hmm.
and this is part of its decaying process.
Yeah. Well, I had a pastor friend of mine. This was probably 10 years ago, and this was before the LGBTQ and all this stuff had come to any kind of real head and all that stuff. But it was just kind of
This was still when it was kind of wrongish.
yeah, people were meandering.
It wasn't
around.
okay.
Yeah. And he made a comment about the whole thing. He said, "What happens when I decide I like squirrels?" And it was just random. And I'm like, it's a great point because eventually someone's going to say,
We're already there too.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of what I was asking about the Caligula thing.
because should I have the right to marry an animal if I love that animal?
I would say, going by today's standards, I would say yeah.
Right.
But I think because you are who you are. See, and this is where this false cry of racism and bigotry and ignorance and whatever they want to label people with common sense is a problem, is because they're actually judging you, so they would know you're a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
They would know that you probably have some kind of common sense, and they would know that you're probably trying to prove a point. And if you were a mental deficient who could vote for them, who needed their help for everything to survive, and you said, "I want to marry a squirrel," they'd be like, "Oh yeah,
Of course
you have
should.
rights."
Mm-hmm.
But since you're a male of common sense who loves the Lord, trying to make a point, you are ignorant and
Yeah.
you are really scum here, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're not very open-minded. And again, we moved away from a free society with rule over just the basics of life to now they literally are going to dictate they're going to dictate whether you're serious or not about what you're saying.
Right.
We're throwing it all away. This goes to, we were talking about communism
Mm-hmm.
in the restaurant
Mm-hmm.
earlier this morning. I mean, that's what type of society gets formed from this activity.
Right. No, it is true. And, we're quickly going, and they've been saying this for years, but we're quickly going the way of Europe, and it's coming down the pike where, there will be no more rights. They will come in and they will tell you exactly what you
How
can
to think.
and cannot. Yeah.
What you'll do. And the only thing right now keeping us from being a socialist country is they don't own the means of production.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right. Well, I was just watching. I was watching the Eric Metaxas broadcast here 2 or 3 days ago, and he had a lady on there. I won't be able to remember her name now, but she was a British lady, I believe, that's really kind of in the States fighting and trying to make American people aware that if we don't make some change here,
where it's
that
coming.
it's gonna come. And she was talking about how like now it's like a law or that you can't watch Fox News, and if they find out you're watching Fox News, I mean they take your stuff.
But this is how crazy this is, though. They have not been able to come up with a legitimate point to pull Fox News off of and out of. Like the Chinese don't have Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
they have figured out how to shut it all down, right? But the British and the English and the Europeans haven't figured out a law or a way yet to justifiably pull it down. So they now have to say you can't watch it.
Right.
Which is complete. How do you enforce this?
Right.
How do you? That shouldn't even be allowed to be a law. Something you can't enforce.
Right.
And if they are able to enforce it, it would have to be in such a way that you're like, that would be such an invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
I don't even know
Yeah,
why.
but there's no such thing anymore.
I don't even know why you'd stay there.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she said that there are now laws in effect that parents do not have the right, the schools and the doctors and that have the right, that if a child decides that they want to, become a different gender, that they can go through that process
Without their parents. Of course. But this is from the people, they were some of the first people to protect the Muslim influx and the Muslim, like they're the ones with go and no-go zones.
Yeah.
Like we watched that stuff 10, 15 years ago after 9/11, or we're going 20 years ago. And we're like, oh my gosh, how could these people be so dumb? And yet now we're starting to do the same thing.
I was going to say, don't we have a no-go zone in Michigan somewhere? Or
well, Dearborn is like there's areas of like they're allowed to kind of do their thing. Right. They're figuring it out, and so I guess that's what I'm saying. This lady that's saying these things, she's right. Like we're going that way, and what's crazy is it's only been within the past decade and a half.
Right.
That we were looking over there going, that's crazy.
You guys are nuts.
You guys are nuts.
Right.
And now we're doing it.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we got here. Somehow, there was the whole Obama administration. I don't know what they did. But obviously it's kind of moved it couldn't have moved our culture, though. Our culture had to be primed and ready for it.
It's been being primed and ready. I think it came from whether it's the whole Enlightenment, and then you move in from past the Enlightenment, you move into this whole idea of modernism and then postmodernism and the idea of relativism. And as you walk through all that, there really
that's how we're talking about the 20s.
Right.
That's the 20s.
Right.
So almost it's taken 100 years then. Like because in there slips in communism. Mm-hmm. Communism developed in the late 1800s, was installed by the mid to late 20s. Right. Like it's come and gone and failed 3 or 4 times. Right. So isn't there another period?
I don't know. Maybe I just kind of
nobody's bothered to label it.
I kind of think we've just been in the pot, sitting in the pot like a frog, and the powers that be have just been turning the heat up slowly.
All right. Well, I guess I could go with that. I don't even think you can label a period anymore. I think it changes so fast. Like if you just think about computers,
right?
Like you would call it the computer age has developed overnight,
right?
Flight is developed pretty much overnight. The Industrial Revolution was pretty much perfected overnight. I'm going somewhere with our communism discussion.
All right, let's go with it.
If you look at what a republic, free society with a capitalistic economic structure has done in 200 years.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and say we invented the car. I'm not going to say we invented bridges and engineering. The Germans are really good at it. I'm not going to say we invented the whatever, but this country's methodologies and methods and structure have allowed for the ingenuity, creativity, and mass production, because it's like I said, once I got here, why do I want somebody telling me what to do like groupthink? Like if you immediately, when installed in groupthink, have no reason to own anything, and therefore you have no incentive to take care of it or want to do anything good with it. And that goes with ideas too. And I guess I'm very disturbed from this morning's conversations about wanting to install yourself into a beehive.
Yeah.
Which was basically the argument.
Right. And just so, the only 2 people that are watching, but in case we had a discussion this morning with a young man who is a strong proponent of socialistic communism type of ideologies.
Yeah.
And he's coming from the standpoint when it comes to a spiritual state of probably a deist, which would mean that there's a God that exists, but he put everything in motion and then he just kind of left.
Right.
And everything just kind of works on its own.
Which is also the Masons.
Right. Yeah. So, but I don't think he would not affiliate himself with Masonic order or anything like that. But you're right.
I think he would go there next.
Yeah. Well, it's possible. But see, it opens up the door. All this stuff opens up the door for a society that says, we make our own morals, and once we make them, then no one else really matters other than what we say matters.
Well, but it's to the ruling class.
It's
almost
justifying.
justifying.
Make the rules.
Well, it's almost justifying. Like I've been thinking about this is like he was saying trying to get the concepts. This is the thing too. Like Lenin and Stalin had to make their own language to make this work, right? Mm-hmm. Or they had to take, they took like modern, would it be psychology principles or, but like, and they took their Soviet words, like, isn't that where proletariat and bourgeois and bourgeoisie and all
I'm not sure, but
either way, anyway. So you almost have to learn a whole other language to
you do.
freaking get your arms around this.
Yeah.
But basically, the idea that you may have the ideas, but the tools aren't at your disposal to see the ideas come to be. So therefore, the idea would never happen anyway. But you still had the idea. Like you're discounting the individual for being smart enough to go, I had this idea, but even though I couldn't make aircraft aluminum in 1250, well, we could never make it happen. So like that's what we're saying is like, well, you don't get to have that idea, right? Is that kind of what, if you boil it down, you could think that.
I don't know. I was more or less gathering that the point was that they're smart people, and then there's the rest
of everybody else.
So,
but what I'm saying is we all are everybody else. We just have like I do some of the dumbest things you've ever seen in your life. I just backed into my own camper last weekend, but I like to think that I come up with some pretty smart ideas at times that people go, holy cow, that's really smart. But then I turn around and I shoot myself in the foot. We're all that way.
Yeah.
All it is a justification to install a ruling class over you.
Right.
And you're in a pile of morons. You're in the sheep. And we get to shoot the sheep when we want to, because we've seen that in history. I don't. Why would I not? I want to be able to have the choice to go, this is what I want to do today.
Yeah. But isn't that why Paul wrote what he wrote? And that's why Paul knew what he knew when he said things like, I don't boast in anything but the cross of Christ. Because when I can, do great things and then I back something into my trailer, it's just one more way to say, without Christ, without God, none of this stuff is possible.
Right.
I can't do any of it.
Right.
So I could try and take credit for doing this, but at the end of the day, it's because God gave me an intellect, and because he rules over me, and because I listen to his wisdom, I can do these things. And then you go, well, what about the people that don't listen to God's wisdom? Well, although they don't want to believe it, they've still been created by the same God who's given them an intellect. They're just choosing not to acknowledge that God's the one who did that in them.
Right. Well, and you're gonna reap the natural consequences of whatever decisions you make.
Right.
And if you follow God's law and God's order, you minimize the consequences of backing into your own. Like my consequence, hopefully, let's just put this out there theoretically. My consequences are limited to me being a moron and backing into my own camper, right? Not something really terrible like ruining myself, not following one of God's commandments, and say stealing, and now I'm in jail.
Right.
I thieve, I get caught, now I'm in jail for 20 years, 25 years, and so I've put that on myself as a real consequence to not following God's law of don't steal. Thou shalt not covet and steal.
Right.
So, I'm more down to just I'm injuring God's blessings he's given to me. I'm being a poor steward.
Yeah.
But that's about the worst you can convict me of. But I guess going back though, we're all there.
Yeah.
Like we all do dumb things. And we all do really smart things. And wouldn't we want to know that we could go to the sheeple and pull out a cool idea or listen to the cool ideas and let that person run with it.
Right.
And profit on it. And that's how we started. And I want to say that the gentleman that we spoke to this morning is looking for an answer to why he doesn't like corporatism.
Yeah. That's
right?
a bigger. Yeah, that's a bigger. Yeah, that's
what he really doesn't like. If he really knew capitalism when it was supposed to work, he'd be fine with it. Like if you read Adam Smith and some of the founders of how that all got laid out at the founding of the country, he would probably like that. But the idea that Walmart can buy everything and has negotiating power and is the gigantic store, or JP Morgan, you have to go there and get your money there, and they determine the economic policy. That's what he's not in love with, and I'm not either.
Yeah.
But that's corporatism.
Right.
That's not capitalism.
Yeah.
And then we turn. So we go. It's almost sheepish that you then turn and go, well, I know that idea of communism has been tried 3 times, and it led to millions, literally millions of deaths, and buried in woods.
Yeah.
Okay, from Russia to China.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe now
we'll get it.
Maybe now we're smart enough.
We'll get it.
We'll get it.
Yeah, we will.
The right materialistic. I want to know how he was hanging that, because I thought I understood it, but then I lost it.
Well, still, and then at the end of the day, I mean, if you follow that argument to its end, and you say, okay, everybody can have $1,000 a month from the government, and we're going to share.
That's being proposed too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But so we're going to share all this stuff, share all the wealth. We're going to do all this stuff. So at the end of the day, though, does anybody not see that how shallow this is? Because again, we're talking about materialism, and we're talking about people who want stuff.
Well, we're voting on our president, and our president is saying, like, I'm going to make sure we have good school pizza every Tuesday. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different than running for class president and going, and we're going to get new vending machines.
Yeah.
Like, I'm promising you things.
Right.
You are voting everyone else's money into your pockets to get something.
What's the guy that's proposing? His last name is Yang. I'm trying to think of his first name.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. If that were executed properly, because the way our society is, I'm okay with it. I understand his point, because this then also points to technology.
Yeah, because they're going to be making all this stuff, and we just kind of
the technology. So you ever watch his thing with Ben Shapiro? He was on with Ben, and he was on with Joe Rogan.
Okay, you're talking about the Yang guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you listen to his interviews, and he at least has a very logical argument. And he was on with Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson actually is quite liberal, but I still like to watch his logic and I would call him a liberal-sided conservative. But his main argument is, in 10 years, trucks are going to be driving themselves. 3.5 million people. It is the biggest job sector of people with high school educations in the country. Gone. Because trucks are coming. They're going to be automated. More and more things are going to be automated. Jobs are going to be automated. And so as a capitalist, you have to go, all right, this is cool. This is free market. It's coming. It's going to happen. We need to let it happen. I understand that. But at the same time, we have we've created a whole society of entitled people who are like, okay, so what are we going to do? And then we have, Archie Bunker going, they're going to take our jobs. So truck drivers are going to stand out and blockade robot trucks. Like, there's some serious consequences of things coming, not to mention they're not working. So Andrew Yang is proposing what does he call it? Minimum something income, basic
living wage.
No, this is different. Living wage is established minimum wage, which, like, Seattle's already proving. You can read the articles that.
But isn't that what they called? They did this already in California, where they gave.
But this is going to be on the country level.
No, I understand. And
so everybody's going to get $1,000 a month. Cut them a check. I'm half okay with it, because that's our tax money coming back, as long as they would pull it from tax money that already exists. So that means they would have to shut other things down or watch their spending in other places, and then our money comes back to us.
But if you're not working,
you're going to have to work. $1,000 a month isn't enough for you to. Right. This is the thing. It's enough to sustain the blow of AI coming back. So maybe one of you isn't working. Maybe the mom's got the job now, and that $1,000 covers the dad who lost his truck driving job to go figure out what else he's gonna do.
Yeah.
I mean, this comes down to, if you could have a robot, would you not have a robot? I would have a robot go do my job for me so I can stay at home. Now I can do a couple things. I can stay at home and be lazy and watch TV all day and die young. That could happen. Or I could create, innovate, 3D print, make music, make creative solutions and ideas while this robot's out working for me. But just like the government wants to take our taxes, take our money as taxes, they'll never let us have our own robots. That's why they're trying to give robots rights already. So we can't make slaves.
Now remember earlier today we were talking about how back in the day men were men and women knew it, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? Don't you think that part of this, like what you're saying, is if I could have a robot so I could go do this, those people back in the day, they worked and they did that stuff.
Right.
No, and this is why they died young. That and they didn't have soap. Like, listen.
What?
No,
They didn't have that much
didn't
young.
die that young.
No, I'm not talking World War II. I'm talking, say, prior to the Industrial Revolution, because, like, let's face it, modern doctoring hasn't really fixed us that much. This is a whole topic we've talked about before. The thing that saved us is hygiene. We've got indoor plumbing, running water, and soap.
But even in the Bible, like it tells you that, like in the Old Testament, it tells you that, you've been blessed. A man's years are around 70. And then he says you've been blessed pretty much if you make it over that. So you're living on borrowed time. So technically, even back then, after God laid down the mandate back in Genesis and said your years will be 120, and then they slowly started to trickle down, men and women were still living into their 70s, even back around that time.
Okay. But like the average age of you were expected to live in, say, 1880 America was 44.
Right.
Because of hygiene, shootings, like exploring, you kill yourself falling off a cliff out in the whatever. Like, who knows? Get eaten by a bear.
I get that.
Like, no matter what it was that killed you, I always use the joke, though, that, like, once we got indoor plumbing and we figured out that, like, washing your germs clean and throwing your waste over there and not in the streets of New York, we figured out, like, oh, people don't die of disease. Weird, crazy.
Antibiotics are huge.
Antibiotics are huge, but we overuse them. Like,
Right.
We don't let our body do something. So we're wandering way off topic. I'm talking about
Toothpaste.
we were talking about men being men. No, toothpaste is good. Look how long our teeth last. I mean,
It is.
it is what it is. I guess what I'm saying is they did that, and they were too. We couldn't be fat because we had to go spend a bunch of calories to earn that same amount of calories back
What about
and
Little
work.
Joe?
Why was Little Joe fat?
Yeah.
Well, he apparently was the cook. I don't know.
In Bonanza? What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
No, Little
Or,
Joe.
Hoss.
Hoss.
Sorry.
Hoss.
Although it would have been good if they would have called Hoss Little Joe.
Well, that's what I thought was irony.
That would have been good. So I guess what I'm saying is now there always have been inventors and thinkers. And I think that historically, at least I gather this from my history and what I know about movies, that person's always been seen as not a man, a crackpot, a waster of time, whatever. But yet, so many innovations and whatever come out of the experimenter, the Looney Tune, the scientist, the whatever. The manly men were plowing fields, forging metal, but that's what they were doing.
Right.
Like, they weren't, and I'm sure some great art came out of foundries.
Mm-hmm.
Like the blacksmiths sat around and came up with the twisted wrought iron fence.
Yeah.
Right. So that was out of necessity of, like, I got to have something to sell that people want to buy. But there wasn't like innovation. There wasn't like a new technology developed. And all I'm saying is if you could have something go work for your income for you, and then you could take your family to rivers and streams every day and swim.
You wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. I know that you wouldn't, but you would have free time to do other things that you would want to do. Why wouldn't you?
I think overall it would just erode the society more because then people would
No, I
have
agree.
idle time to go down horrible rabbit trails.
No, yeah,
on
you could
YouTube.
you could be, and you could just take more and more drugs. And,
Yeah,
no.
that's what I'm saying. It would just further exacerbate the problem we currently have.
Yeah, but these all come from because we're inherently wicked.
Yes.
Okay.
Which probably brings us back because I think the church is doing the same thing as the world is doing, and that is we're trying to create some kind of faith or religion that doesn't cause us to have to do any kind of work.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. It only pays us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's perfect. I think that's exactly what's happening.
It's huge.
We are creating a church that, well, it's John, what's his head's videos, the comedian, Jonathan Christ,
mm-hmm.
about like church picking outing. Like it's almost like we're going to get a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you used to go to the church that was in your community and you went with the faith that you thought fit your beliefs as close as possible to how you believed, and you went and got taught and instructed, and you participated in the community in the church. Now, I need to make sure they have good coffee. Is the worship good?
Right.
Like,
and speaking of worship, I was I was working on my sermon the other day, and so I was just listening to worship music in the background. And so I clicked YouTube, like 50 top worship songs or whatever, and so I'm listening to different stuff. And so, of course, when you do that, you're always going to get Hillsong, Bethel, maybe some Jesus Culture, maybe a couple other guys. Anyway.
Elevation Worship.
So basically, Bethel comes on there and they're singing a song and they're going through their worship thing. And they get somewhere in the middle of a song and the lady begins to, and it caught my attention because I'm like, seriously? I'm like, nobody catches this stuff. And she's just kind of in between the song. She's saying, we don't have to have understanding. We don't have to have understanding. We just need to be in your presence. We just need to be in your presence. We don't have to have understanding. We don't have to have understanding. We just need to be in your presence. I'm going, so going in God's presence means we turn our minds off. That's not scriptural.
No, I almost would say it's dangerous.
It is very dangerous. Not to mention, then there's I think it was a Hillsong, and I'm listening to this, and this guy gets up and he begins to say, my heart does not have the idea or the passions to describe God. And then he says, my vocal cords don't have the strength or the energy to say things about God or who he really is. And my voice and my tongue can't do this.
Which you understand where he may be coming from.
I do, but then he begins to describe God with the tongue and with the vocal cords and with his he begins to describe God. So I'm thinking he's
just contradicted yourself in your own
song. He's like doing this whole poetic thing that's like big now in worship, and so he's speaking all this stuff, but people go, oh yes, yes, yes. And I'm going, but it makes no sense. Because now the things you said can't do, what you said they can't do, you're doing.
Right.
That's one of the reasons God gave us a tongue so that we could express. Yes, sometimes our words are not adequate. Sometimes our passions. I get what he's saying.
He's being dramatic.
Yes.
Trying to prove a point.
Right.
Well, all right. So I watched an analysis of the song Ridiculous.
Reckless
Love.
Yeah.
Why would you say, like, God is not reckless? Like, I surely get your point.
Right.
I know what you're trying to say, ironically.
Yeah.
But you're actually besmirching the quality of God using these, pick a different word.
Right.
It's not that tough, but you want to have an ironic or a deep moment.
Right.
Is why you've chose this. And I don't know. I think some of this stuff's getting a little unhinged with, but these are the churches that everybody wants to follow to do these things.
So do you think it's wrong then that I entitled my sermon this Sunday, "The Smell of Forgiveness"?
No, that's doesn't necessarily indicate that it's stinky. Maybe it's sweet and wonderful.
It's out of Luke chapter 7, and it's when the woman comes in and anoints Jesus' feet with perfume and her tears. And obviously, when she's anointing, that aroma had to be coming out. But what's seen is Jesus declaring what real forgiveness looks like. And so that's kind of why I caught that this morning. I'm like, oh, I'll just call it the smell of forgiveness. But am I just trying to find some catchy title like this guy?
Yes, you are.
I am.
You are.
We'll jump on and play Ooh That Smell.
Ooh, that smell.
Can you do that?
Yeah. You want to
We can
do
do
that?
that.
All right.
Sweet.
So yeah, please do it. It'll be great.
All right, I'm gonna make it so.
And I'm not joking here either.
No, me either.
So if you want to turn it into Facebook to hear their version of "Ooh, that
The
smell,"
by
Don't even know.
no, it's
I don't know. I just know.
how can we not
Uncle
do
Gary
this
would play it.
70s music?
but can I ask a
trivia?
question? Is that not
Leonard Skinner?
that smell that he's talking about is not an appropriate thing?
No, we'll have to change.
No,
that.
but see, this would be okay though, because it's just the words match.
Okay.
So this doesn't have to do with the
Right. The
because
content.
that's essentially what we're saying about the problem that you had with what you heard on your computer was like, no, the words fit. So even though they're the wrong words or they're backwards of what you think, you know what I really mean, man.
Mhm.
That's what makes this really deep.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that we're doing the same thing. We're just
Mhm.
playing "Ooh, That Smell," which is bad, but we mean it good, Lee.
Right.
That's why it's being silly.
I know.
I think it's gonna be great.
Man, Mitch, you don't contribute a lot, but when you chime in, you're really nailing it.
Well,
Yeah, he's on the money. So I don't know where else you want to go with that. I know one thing that it's infiltrating the church, and the church has always been kind of afraid of that. And then eventually we got to the point where we're not supposed to be afraid of anything. We can't fear anything, and it shouldn't be about fear. It should just be about understanding that there are certain things as followers of Christ that we do and we do not do. And one of those is we cannot come in and allow this idea of just kind of flippant worship, or the idea that I don't have to understand things. I just have to be in your presence and shut off my mind.
I'll even go as far as say, all right, if somebody listens to it and gets the context of what you're laying down, that'll probably be fine.
Mhm.
But in 80% of the other cases where people take everything literally, they're not going to get what you're saying. And so therefore you're misleading the majority.
Right.
Why cover it up in ironic deep thought, man? Why
Right.
not just say what you mean?
Right. And you know what? To be fair to this young lady who was singing the song, so if anybody ever heard it, I could have, because I was working on my sermon at the same time. And so maybe the song before was talking about,
No,
sometimes
she's a weirdo.
I mean,
Sorry.
maybe she was talking about, maybe the song before was talking about how, because we don't always have the understanding we need. And so sometimes we just come into the presence of God and we don't understand everything, but in his presence, we can at least be known by him. And I could get all that, but when I think we have to be so careful when we say
Yeah, but
something.
wouldn't you want to strive to get your arms around it?
I would think so.
That I would take that as like, you don't have to understand how gasoline works. You just put it in your car and drive down the road.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
A lot of people do, but you don't want to encourage the ignorance. If somebody was like, I wonder how that stuff gets from back there, and then when I press on it here, I go there. Be like, hey, it goes in the engine fires it, and it moves you down the road. You should want to know.
Right.
Maybe you don't want to know it today.
Right.
But be open to the idea that somebody might teach you.
Right.
And I think that don't encourage ignorance. But
isn't that part of what you're like, the innovation that we were just talking about? Isn't that part of why a lot of us are where we're at today? Because, like, for instance, if I were to bring April in here and ask her, when you push that pedal, why does the car go down the road? She might be able to say, well, there's gas in there and it fuels the car and it makes it go. But she couldn't explain that there's these things called spark plugs,
right,
that the gas is pushed in or pumped in and it combusts and it moves a piston up
right,
and down, and then that causes a drive shaft to turn.
But that's what I'm saying. But be open to it, because, like, all right, so the power coming into your house.
Mhm.
Do you have any idea how it gets there?
I don't.
No. But be open to go, I don't know how the power comes into my house, and maybe someday I'll learn. And I'll be open to hearing about how it happens.
Mhm.
But I know that it's a miracle that every house on my road gets this stuff, and we don't eat each other because our fridges are cold and they keep our food. Rather than just ignorantly going, no, we're always going to have electricity. It's just always here.
Everyone knows little monkeys on bicycles.
Right. Everyone knows it's little monkeys on bicycles.
Is that Wizard of Oz?
That's how it gets done.
He's
I
being
knew-
truthful.
I never knew
It's
that.
the monkey plant.
Yeah.
Is that why their feet are like that?
Yeah,
They
and
grip the pedals.
Don't you wish if we really came from monkeys that we had feet like that?
It would be neat.
I reach up there, get my phone, and look at it from right
You
here.
could save a bunch of money on shoes because you would want to holster them.
Well, I want to argue that I think shoes would have to be a lot more complicated.
Just be on the palm. Be like the palm.
Or the way they'd have to make it and engineer it so it would last.
Yeah.
I think it would be much more
like those
complicated.
toe shoes.
Like toe shoes.
Yeah.
We would have had toe shoes with Skeletos.
Mhm.
We'd have had Skeletos way earlier.
All right. Well, not to confuse things even more, but going down this route, and the people who have been watching or might have been watching or something, they're probably going, "Man, this is really weird."
This is a weird day today.
But I was watching an interview by Joe Rogan, and he's interviewing Bob
Lazar. I started watching that.
I'm going, they're literally, because they're both evolutionists, okay?
Right.
And they're literally taught, like Joe Rogan brings up the idea that chimps in some certain jungle are now starting to make spears and kill each other with spears because they've mimicked this and they've seen humans doing it.
Sure.
And so they're doing it. And they came to this conclusion that this proved
That they're evolving.
evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, who in God's green earth would look at that situation and going, because I can mimic someone
Something
else, that means I can
We
evolve.
clearly just argued that they saw a higher being
Right.
do something and they're mimicking it.
Right.
Then we turn into like, nope, they're evolving.
So who did the one
Warfare's better.
right.
That's even worse argument.
Right.
We were evolving into warfare.
Right.
Oh, that's terrible.
So what did
I didn't go that far.
what did the one cell amoeba see? You know, who did they see? You know,
Right.
the 2-celled amoeba. Oh, we're gonna be 2 now.
Right. We should do this twice.
Yeah, we should multiply.
Well, that's what I'm
ourselves.
saying. So you don't ever catch the in between step.
Well, all right. So the fish, the textbook evolutionary, the fish or the salamander with little legs on it. Wouldn't there have been a bunch of them
There
and they
should
got
be.
stuck there?
Yeah. there
So we should
be.
have little fish with little legs on them
Mhm.
everywhere.
Right.
They just one of them then crawled up on the beach and started walking, but there should have been a bunch of the other ones left behind. We
Right.
should have that as a species, I would think.
And some of these big biologists and I don't know what they call these guys, you know, geologists and that. Their big argument now, at least in the Christian for intelligent design, is the whole Cambrian explosion, that whole Cambrian period,
Right.
when they're finding like trilobites with 4-legged animals all in the same layers,
Right.
You know, and they're going, hey, how did this happen? Or they're finding this in this layer, you know, with 4 legs, and then the trilobite up here. So it's
Right.
like it didn't evolve. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty good information.
What if they accidentally found like a Whirlpool washing machine part in the middle of it? Would that mean that there was washing machines
I think so.
That would.
around that period?
Mhm.
Like so going back to my Kent Hole.
Well, they do
videos.
drop planes on walls back in the day.
Right, and saucers.
Mhm.
Well, listen, we
Ancient
know
aliens.
time travel's real
Yes, listen to this.
because of the role playing game from 1988 called Cyberpunk 2020.
I have to send you this video.
Yeah,
Okay.
Who's the guy?
Paul
Paul
Joseph
Joseph Watson
yeah.
does an analysis of the game Cyberpunk 2020, and it accurately predicts how our society
Right
is
now.
falling right now.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So, I was reading the comment
The
section.
comments.
There's a guy that said, obviously, this proves time travel's real, and they inflict their will upon us through role playing games,
PG role playing
RPG games.
RPG games. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, that's where Lazar was going in them too, and Rogan was this whole whatever these people are out here that are meeting Earth, that are coming to Earth, we're just like their little experiments, and you know.
I watched enough of that to the movie Bob Lazar was so sensational that you couldn't help but go, whoa, man. But then I watched that interview between him and Joe, and I think he kind of falls apart there. Am I
You mean
wrong?
Bob? Yeah.
I think his you start to go, all right, we're listening to a crackpot.
Mhm. And I think that's why they got that guy who's the director of the movie. He's always with Bob Lazar in these interviews. You
Because
notice
he
that?
steers him.
Yep.
What's
Yes.
the movie?
Bob Lazar. You have to pay for it.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I figured.
He's a guy who worked not at Area 51, but someplace over there, right?
S4, so it would be an area removed from Area 51. And his whole deal is he saw aliens, he's seen spacecraft, he's seen anti-gravitational technology. The government has come after him several times. He's actually a really cool dude if you watch the documentary. I mean, it's pretty cool stuff.
They make him look cool.
They make him look
He's a
cool.
nerd.
Not
He's
so
a total
much.
nerd. You watch him on the Joe Rogan interview, and you're kind of like, what?
But Joe Rogan's eating this stuff up, though. Don't you think?
Well, because I think you take the Kool-Aid if the Kool-Aid was a different kind of Kool-Aid, and you're like, man, this goes in a different direction, and I want to run this way. Then the really good documentary gets you hooked in, and then no matter what he's gonna say, you're a disciple, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I found interesting when I was watching him this time. I really kind of was like, what? And like you said, then the documentary maker would pipe in, and go, no, you can go to the internet and look it up here. You can see this, this, and this. And there was conversation between this guy and that guy, and he's like filling in a bunch of holes. And it's like, well, why can't this dude just tell us what you're telling us?
And you know what I love about these guys too, that and not that some of the stuff they're saying might not be true, but they'll say like, well, there's this, you'll hear about this. It's a document, a file. And then Joe Rogan's like, well, can you explain what you're talking about? Well, it's a document, it's a file. And so then Joe's like nobody can explain what this stuff supposedly is.
Or he could be like, you could Google it.
Right.
And the great thing about Joe Rogan is they have a live big screen there at all times. He'd be like, Google it.
Yeah, and he did.
And he did. And the guy was kind of like, this was kind of hard to find.
Yeah.
So this guy just sold it like, Google it, you'll find it.
Right.
And he's like, I think I found it, but I had to really do some digging.
Right.
And then it becomes the conspiracy. Yeah, they're trying to keep it from you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's crazy to watch in front of you, and you're just like, oh, okay.
Right. And we've had this discussion before too, about the whole extraterrestrial alien being
it's demonic activity.
Yeah, dynamic, right?
Demonic.
Oh, I thought it was dynamic. We had a friend of Brian's over one time. This was years ago. They were little, and the kids they were talking about something, and the kid goes, "That's dynamic, man."
Dynamic.
And so now we always call things dynamic. But anyway, so we would say it's demonic, but they're actually like this Bob guy. He's talking about
they're ascribing it to powers of God.
They are.
Yes,
they are.
They are establishing it as their God because it's obvious that if these beings are doing what I think they're doing, they're obviously so smart. They're smarter than me.
Yeah.
It's no different than wanting to be a communist. I'm going to turn over my self-will to something else.
Yeah.
Communists turn it over to people who rule over them. Bob Lazar turns it over to aliens.
Yeah. Well, I learned from a nice man in Connecticut. That he subscribed to the theory that possibly most of the aliens are demons because the ones that come out scary and whatever, but the little gray ones are good ones.
Oh, there's good demons.
Yeah, no, they're the good aliens. They're the real aliens.
The
scary ones that scare you and do whatever. They're the
ones that have 3 heads that pop out of their guts and want to eat you.
But the little gray ones are good.
Oh. Well, you know why the little gray ones are good is because according to Bob Lazar and his sidekick documentary director guy, is because the gray ones are actually manufactured. Their flesh is made. They've actually taken flesh and they've grown the flesh on these things, and they're actually just robots.
Oh,
robots.
Which is interesting. AI is coming to kill us, and it is the tool of the devil.
Yeah, nice. Huh?
Perfect. It's great.
It's good stuff. So,
all right, I have to go home and watch my kids.
Yeah, and I gotta get some more sermon prep done and finish this last part of the outline. I don't know. I don't know. This message this Sunday is going to really push us.
I have to go home and work out that smell.
So and you have because the smell of forgiveness is not something that most people are sniffing.
Right.
You know,
no,
they don't want to sniff it.
What do you say? Like to be forgiven or to forgive?
It's both, because you'll see in this story that the young lady here, the woman who comes and falls at Jesus' feet, she is searching for him. She's learned where he's at. She's trying to find him. And she falls at his feet, and she's got this understanding of who she is. She's lost. She's fallen. She needs him. You've got the Pharisee, who's another character in the story, who doesn't see this. And Jesus then tells the parable of 2 debtors. One owes 500, the other 50. And he says the moneylender just went ahead and wiped them both clean. And he said, who's going to love the moneylender more? And the Pharisee says, well, I suppose the one who got forgiven of more. And Jesus says, yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. And so forgiveness seems to be, at least in this story, Jesus seems to be linking forgiveness with an understanding of your sinfulness. And most people most people
because
go,
they think we're inherently good.
yeah,
They don't understand how wretched they are. If everybody would acknowledge how wretched we are
right,
and fallen we are, then we all could lump ourselves in the same category, making us all truly equal.
right. That's what I mean. I think that's why I think we've got churches full of people who have said a prayer and have been forgiven and are going to heaven,
Right.
but they've never acknowledged that they're broken, they're lost, they're sinners, they're junk without Jesus.
Right.
I just thought 2 J's, junk without Jesus. That might
that's the title.
Yeah.
You gonna use that for Sunday?
No,
You're on fire.
You are. You should write that down and save it.
Yeah.
Actually, you should custom tailor a message around it.
Yeah, I'm not going to use any kind of illustrations that talk about how I used to sniff glue. I'm not going to.
No, don't do that.
That would not be good.
I don't think that would be good. No. And the junk for Jesus message, I know what you do with it. You custom craft that thing, you put it in your desk, you wait till you retire, and you go speak it at churches when other pastors go on vacation and you're doing the retirement circuit. You break out the junk for Jesus message.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. So and I think that's like you're getting ready to go home to do a bunch of stuff and make sure your kids are taken care of and your wife.
I just make sure they don't die.
I'll make sure they don't die.
Yeah.
Okay. And Mitch, what do you got going on today? Anything good?
About the same.
You're gonna make sure your kids don't die.
Mm-hmm.
It's really all you do.
My kids are old.
Put your arms out like bumpers, and you're like,
Don't stick your arm down your brother's throat.
Yeah.
Those
Stop
kind of
punching your sister.
Yeah.
Don't let her eat that balloon. Like,
See,
stuff like that.
I'm at the point now in my parenting where I don't try to stop them. I just find out periodically throughout the day that they're still alive. Because they're kind of doing their own thing.
Or you hear maybe how they could have died.
Yeah.
But it's the end of the day and they made it. So you're like,
yeah. And
we're headed there. We're headed there.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
It has its own challenges, but it is easier, I think. At this stage.
I hope so.
Yeah.
This is really mind-numbing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
And it makes you old quick.
Yeah.
You're telling me. I think I'm 67.
And I really do think, I don't know if women normally live longer than men like they do now, but I think maybe back in the day, there was a reason why the men worked all day and the women stayed at home, because we weren't meant, like, we get old quick when we start to have to deal with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have aged tremendously.
I don't think it was your kids, Brent.
You don't think it was?
No, I think it just naturally happens.
Just life, huh?
I do think that men worked out in the fields because they had more muscles.
Mm-hmm.
They had all the physicality of a man,
Mm-hmm.
and they do what God intended them to do, which was be a head of a household.
Yeah. And now we all have low testosterone.
Well, and I'll go as far as say I think the problem we have is the women now want to be the head of the household, and they don't want to be moms anymore. But I don't want to be a mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't
My
know.
makeup isn't to be a mom.
I'm trying to eat enough soy that I'll get there.
Okay? So you're trying to transition into a mommy? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I won't.
Well, if you're doing the organic non-GMO soy, it's not going to work. You got to get the.
Oh no,
pesticide
I'm getting the good stuff.
Okay.
No, wait. Organic soy doesn't make you a soy boy?
It's not supposed to. It's supposed to.
Japanese?
It's supposedly the pesticides and junk that they spray and the genetically modified parts of the soybean that are making people. It's not the soy itself.
I thought that the soy itself had an estrogen mimicker in it. That was the quality of it. And that's why.
Yeah, it does, but I think it's because it was genetically modified. I could be mistaken.
Huh.
Now there are still people that are against soy, whether it's non-GMO, organic, period.
That's camp. I was.
Yeah.
Somebody convinced me to be.
But there's some other people that were actually, like, I've seen stuff online where they show the breakdown and structure and they say it's really not bad. I mean, let's think about
The Japanese? Hello?
But they've been eating that stuff for how many years?
Years.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
A good plate of edamame.
So you're saying that I'm gonna be shorter, or my kids are gonna be shorter?
No, I mean that literally is taken hundreds of years.
Yeah.
But you're pumping yourself full of an estrogen mimicker,
Yeah.
making you a soy boy.
But here's what's funny about my body, though, which is interesting, is that I haven't started to produce female things on my body, if you know what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
Like
Toenails.
Toenails
Nail polish.
that are painted.
Nail polish.
Yes. But I haven't seemed to develop breasts.
Right.
Do you have a large soy intake?
I don't, and I didn't before.
Well, this has to do more with your brain and how you understand and think and act, not so much like a chemical replacement.
So if I think like a woman, I'll get breasts. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
no.
He eats what you
This
like,
doesn't. This really
Oh.
doesn't go to breasts at all.
Okay.
This is breast.
I'm just
free.
saying this because men have a problem today with breasts. A lot of men.
That's because we're fat.
I noticed even in the stores, the mannequins that they're making, like the shirt, they have the man breasts on the mannequins.
Well, they're called pecs on men.
No, these are not pecs.
These are
anymore.
man boobs.
These are man
Clearly,
boobs. I didn't
right?
want to say the boob part because that's not really,
technically correct.
yeah, it's
Man breasts.
I don't know, but they're there.
Breasts.
Breasts.
I'm
that's just
noticing.
fat.
I'm telling you,
It's just fat.
that's what it is then.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make sure that people that have those think that's still okay. It's
That'll fit
acceptable.
me.
Yeah, that'll look good on me.
That will look good. I don't think the point is to have man breasts be a thing. I think they're just our society's fat,
Mhm,
and so they're trying to make clothes that reflect our fatness.
mhm.
They're marketing to what exists. Finally,
Well, yeah, right.
like you ever see like.
But why does it exist?
Because we can eat way more calories than work it takes to gather them anymore. It used to be 1-to-1. You would have to work 2,000 calories to get 2,000 calories.
Yeah.
It's gone.
You guys are all going to start looking at men and see if they have. You're going to look at the mannequins now, aren't you? When you go to the store.
I am.
I'm headed to Giant Eagle right after this, and I'll check it out there.
Yeah.
The giant eagle mannequins.
Yeah. Are they right by the chicken?
They're
Yeah,
super,
they are. They're right by the chicken.
super prevalent.
At which you can get boneless breasts.
Uh-huh.
Well, before we go,
Boneless
we don't want to because somebody's made a comment here. Oh, Naomi's just saying it's the hormones they pump into cow's milk and chicken.
Boom.
Go organic, she says.
It's estrogen mimickers. Yeah. But I think it's more to go back. I think it's more your mental, like your
You will become
cerebellum,
emotional.
whatever your brain parts in here that control your emotions.
Mhm.
It makes you more emotional. It makes you more, you become irrational because you are run by your emotions, and that's what you see out of people today.
Yeah. Listen, you can't say that. Another woman could say that about
Mhm.
women. You can't say
You
that.
cannot.
I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing in this. I don't know what you're doing.
What?
It's just like anything else. If you're one of them,
Then you can say.
then you can say anything about them. It's okay. You
Like,
can't.
we
say
aren't
that.
allowed to use the joke about lady Asian drivers anymore.
We can't?
No, we're not Asian
Good luck,
ladies.
everybody.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody.
But yes, women do have great emotions.
Well, that's what makes them take care of the children so well.
Well, it
That's
should
why
be.
we're not suited for it.
But okay.
It is. I wasn't trying to stop the conversation. I was just letting you know that that's true.
What's true?
Because I asked my wife,
may
we
not.
got in an argument one day, and I'm not. I really don't believe.
You know why?
Since I'm a
You
Christ.
want me to blow this up because we gave them the right to vote. Boom.
No, but this isn't just
Now
about
they think
women.
they get to decide.
I know this isn't just about women though. Like, because I don't believe. I mean, I have a lot of African American men and women who I know and that I'm friends with. I love to death. Not to death. That wasn't a good term, right? But I love them. All right, and I don't feel like I have prejudice at all in my body, especially as a Christ follower. Now, in the past, I was stupid, but it wasn't just against Black or African American. It'd be against anybody. It was, even if you're white. And maybe I was that way. But here's my point. I talked to April one day. We got in a little bit of a tiff or an argument, and I said, "Why is it okay for African Americans to say stuff about African Americans that's derogatory? Like use a word that's derogatory."
Yeah.
And the reason we got in this argument is because one of my boys was in the back and they were kind of messing around and stuff, and they made a comment that somebody made a comment and they used the actual word, the N word.
Right.
All right. And April turned around and I did too. And I said, listen, no, we don't use that word. I said, it's derogatory. And that's really, I mean, they've never heard it from us, obviously. And they weren't even trying to use it in a bad
No,
way.
it's everywhere.
But long story short, we got into this argument then. And I said, okay, I'm totally against any of that. I don't think you should. But I said, why is it okay that a group of people that's part of that group can use a derogatory word, but then get upset with other people that use the derogatory word? And then she kind of brought it, well, that's because it was made to be derogatory and they used it derogatory. I'm like, but still, it's derogatory no matter who uses
Period.
it.
Yes.
It's not good.
Right.
Now, granted, I don't
If
have
you-
any
if
of my
you're
black
gonna
friends
u-
here to help us.
If
work
you're
through
going to
this,
use
but-
it, I'm going to use it. But why not? If you can use it, I want to use it.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, though. As a Christian, like I don't want to use it because I know it's derogatory. And so, but they're going. It's not derogatory because I'm. So, like, if a woman was sitting here and saying we're emotional, and we get this way, and certain times of the month we get this way,
This is because people have a hard time with facts. They have a hard time with real observations and statistically speaking how things work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, listen, you could be different. You could be an outlier. You could be the one woman who doesn't get all emotional and upset and rule everything by how you feel and whatever, but we call you a tomboy, right? You would want to play football with the dudes.
We could call you a tomboy.
But I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, this stuff exists, and all you're doing is making observations about a certain group of people or whatever, and what people get upset about is being pushed into a group, which is really ironic about our communism conversation too. By using those terms and by using that methodology of speaking,
Mm-hmm.
you're pushing somebody into a group and pigeonholing them to a thing, and they don't like that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
and because it's bringing out the negative, but like statistically speaking, it's a thing. Then statistically speaking, like I don't know how you can be upset about an observation. You've said something about white people, about fat white males. We all like to eat big buttery donuts. Okay, I like big buttery donuts.
We can talk about this.
But yeah, so we're going to talk
This is
about
what
things
we're
we
allowed
can
to
talk.
talk
What we can
about.
talk about.
Yeah.
Like, if there's nothing better, Mitch, than some really deep
Some
fried
fake
potatoes,
butter eggs.
some fake butter eggs. That's good stuff. And dude, you just eat too much. And I go, you
don't
can't
know.
say
You
that.
don't know
You
what I'm
don't know
dealing
me.
with.
You don't know what I'm dealing with.
yeah. But anytime you use and I don't want to say it's simple, but you use a simple argument like that to try and compare the two, someone's automatically going to come back and say, no, wait a minute.
Yeah, no,
you
my
can't
life's
do that."
harder.
Yeah.
My life's harder.
Well,
This is
boo-hoo.
tied to a whole culture of
Boo-hoo.
slavery and all that
Boo-hoo.
stuff.
I didn't own any slaves. I didn't eat the first apple and ruin it for all mankind.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Come on, that was funny.
We've gotten to politically correct. Oh, Becky Griffiths just says we've gotten too politically correct as a people. Even the truth is offensive, which is right. It's true.
Well, people don't like to hear the truth.
Right.
Which goes back to why people don't want to follow God.
Right.
Because she puts his truth in your life. You feel like a wretch. And then you're like, I either want to run away or I want you to fix this in me.
Right.
Those are your two choices.
Right.
But truth hurts.
Yeah. And the reason I kind of brought this up is because I've been feeling kind of weird because I'm starting to get in these places where my boys will be hanging out and they'll do something and I'll go, quit acting like a little girl.
Right.
But then there'll be girls hanging around
Yeah.
with women,
No, dude.
and I'm going,
No, you can't.
oh my
do that
goodness, I
anymore.
feel like I've just offended the whole world.
You have to get classy and call him Susie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't be
yeah.
a Susie.
Be a Nancy.
Well, see, his name's
Nancy.
Nathan, so I call him Natalie if he
Yeah.
acts like a girl, and Brian is Brianna.
there you go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But now Brianna's going to be offended. I hope she's not watching.
No, she's probably not. She's got more sense than the nonsense that we share on this show.
No, we are way too. The political correctness is ridiculous, but all that is the ruling class trying to tell us how to think.
Mhm.
The proper right way of thinking. I have to watch my kids.
All right. Well, you better get there. All
All
right.
right.
So hopefully next week, Matt will not have to. Are you getting rid of those kids anytime soon?
No, I can't find a good way to do it.
eBay is working.
eBay.
It works for a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's illegal.
Well,
No matter how I do it, it's going to be illegal.
you don't pose them as live. They're like
Right.
dolls.
Oh, okay.
You
Take
know,
pictures.
Yeah, you take pictures of them, paint them up so they look like dolls, and then when you ship them, you just put some air.
Oh, there's so
Can't be.
much offensive things you're saying right now.
All right, you guys have a good weekend, and hopefully
Take
we'll
it
see you.
easy. Good seeing you again.
And this is how
You
we
don't
end
see
it.
anybody though.
Well, no, but they don't know that. Stop it.
They
Miss
do
Molly
now.
on Romper Room was like, I see Billy.
It's not a two-way thing.